I'm Andrea Giles, and you're listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, episode number 49, Attachment Theory. Hello, and welcome to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, where courageous women learn not only to heal from their spouse's betrayal, but to become the boldest, truest, most decisive, and confident versions of themselves ever. If you know there's more for you than the life you're currently living, but don't quite know how to get there, you are in the right place. Stick around to learn how to create a life that will knock your own socks off. Is it possible? It is, and I'm here to show you how. I'm your host, Andrea Giles. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's had a pretty good week. I am doing great. I am home after a wonderful trip with my husband, celebrating our 5-year anniversary last week. We had such a great time. We are trying to pack in what we can before this little baby comes, because we know that it's going to change things somewhat or a lot, right? So before I dive into today's topic, I want to just tell you that I know that some of you listening have reached out with interest in working with me. Maybe I've talked to some of you. Maybe you have thought about it. Maybe you've thought about reaching out and have been nervous for some reason, or afraid that we won't be a good fit, or that it'll be intimidating, or that you'll feel uncomfortable in some way. And I just want to tell you that I am filling up my spots quickly for the rest of the year until I have this baby. And so if you are interested in working with me, now is the time, especially one-on-one. If you want to work with me one-on-one, now is the time. I have spots that I'm opening up for the rest of the year. I have some availability soon. I have some that's coming up a little bit later. And if you are somebody who has considered it, now's the time. Come see me. You can go to my website, andreagiles.com. There's the link right on there. It's a yellow button where you can push it, and you can schedule a consult with me and come talk to me, see if we're a good fit, and we'll get started. Okay? So today I'm going to be talking about something called attachment theory. Many of you maybe have heard of it. Maybe you have not. Either way, I hope you stick around. I hope you stick around because this has to do with you. It is very relevant to what we work through in infidelity, in matters of infidelity. Attachment theory explains a lot about our behavior and about how we respond to infidelity, how we respond to our spouses, how we internalize it, what we make it mean. It's something I've been studying a lot lately, that I've been trying to understand at a deeper level to help my clients and to help myself as I navigate some things with myself. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to share with them in hopes that it will help you today as well. Okay. So what is attachment theory? Attachment theory was coined by John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth. They teach about 3 different kinds of attachment. I'm going to tell you what they are. I'm going to tell you how they came to find these. And I want you to listen as I describe each one. And I want you to listen for which one best describes you in the different kinds of attachment styles. Okay, there's different styles. I want you to see if there's one that sounds more like you than another, okay? And then I'm going to talk with you about how that might be affecting you now and how you can help yourself to work through any areas that need strengthening in regards to your attachment style, okay? So much of what I'm going to be sharing with you comes from a book that is an amazing book. It's called The Assertiveness Guide for Women. It's by Julie D. Azevedo Hanks, and it's a wonderful book, but she teaches a lot about attachment theory in it, and teaches about how when we can understand our attachment style, it makes a lot of sense why many of us struggle to be advocates for ourselves, why many of us shy away from conflict, difficult conversations, being assertive. It makes it understandable to go, yeah, it makes sense that I am the way that I am. And once you understand it and have the awareness, you can work on it, right? You can improve, you can grow, okay? So basically, these two people, John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth, they did an experiment, okay? And what they did is they studied babies. So what they did is they separated children from their mothers and they watched them, they observed them. And at first, children protested. They were visibly upset by the separation from their caregiver. I guess it wasn't just a mother, but it was like a caregiver, okay? Next, they sunk into despair, becoming apathetic and withdrawn. And then finally, after continued separation, the children became detached and unresponsive. Bowlby identified 4 components of attachment that children develop around to maintain connection. Okay. First is proximity maintenance. They desire to be near attachment figures to maintain physical closeness. 2, a secure base. The role of the caregiver or attachment figure plays and from which the child can explore the larger world. So this is kind of like a toddler who is like, you see like a kid playing at a park. They wander off a little bit and then they come right back to their parent to make sure that they're still there, right? Number 3, safe haven. The return to the caregiver for a kiss or hug. When that same toddler feels scared or threatened, she will return for comfort. Number 4, separation distress. The emotional upset exhibited by young children when they're separated from their parent or caregiver. Okay. This looks like, when you leave your toddler with a babysitter for the first time and they will protest and they don't like it, right? Now, a way that is recommended is that it's okay to go away from your child for a little while, but the child needs to know that you're going to come back. And it builds trust. It builds trust to know that you're going to come back, okay? And many of us have learned to survive by detaching or denying our feelings and needs. If the caregiver didn't come back, or if we detached before they came back, what it taught our brain is you got to detach and you got to deny how you actually feel to make it in this world, okay? Now, our attachment style can determine very much what our intimate adult relationships are like, future relationships. We have similar patterns of protesting, despairing, and then detaching. We can see that in adult relationships. If an adult relationship is threatened by illness, by betrayal, by fear of abandonment, etc., then it's very likely that the person who is feeling those things, like that they are going to get left behind or things like that, might detach. They might be anxious, okay? So the general attachment style developed in earlier life can also be seen in adult relationships, especially with your intimate partner. So I think that piece is really important, okay? Many of us have secure adult relationships with adults that are not our partners, but these attachment styles are really the most present when it comes to our intimate relationships, okay? So now I want to tell you what the 3 attachment styles are. I'm going to give you a definition, like a brief definition of them, and then I'm going to actually ask you some questions, and I want you to think about it and determine which one best describes you. So in the study that these two did, 60% of the children were what's called a secure attachment. They had formed secure attachments. They felt distress when separated from a caregiver, joy upon reunification with caregiver, and ability to be close to others, trusting of others to meet needs. Okay, so that's called the secure attachment style. Anxious attachment style, 20% of these kids had that. Distraught upon separation, difficult to soothe upon reunification, clingy and overwhelmed. Okay. Number 3, avoidant, another 20%. minimal distress upon separation, does not seek contact when the caregiver returns, just like, I'm just fine. I don't need you. Okay. Now, the thing that's super interesting is that among adults, it's roughly the same percentages that fall into these three different camps: 60% secure, 20 anxious, 20 avoidant. Okay. Now, I want you to hear me right now. Okay. As I'm teaching you this, I don't want you to judge yourself or to think, oh my gosh, see, I am messed up. Even as I have been studying this, I can see I definitely have patterns where I've been anxious and patterns where I've been avoidant, for sure. I think that there are relationships that I feel very secure in, where my anxiousness and avoidance have come up, have been in intimate relationships. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, okay? So as you are learning these things, I want you to just be aware and know that we can't often see what we are doing. We can't see the things that we're thinking, especially because these things were developed when we were really young, right? Really young. So how are we supposed to know unless somebody helps you see it, right? So when you are just coasting through life, not coasting, but just living your life, we make assumptions. We think that other people do things the way we do, that this is what it looks like to be married. This is how people do relationships. And it's not until we're often in a lot of pain and really feeling distressed and hurt in our relationships that we sometimes are ready to take a look at things that we might be needing to grow in, areas that we need to strengthen. And so that is the intention here, is to just help you be aware and to see where maybe you can help yourself to grow. Okay. So that's the lens I want you to look at this through. Okay. It's self-reflection, getting familiar with the attachment types and seeing where you land. So now I'm going to read you some characteristics of each type of attachment style. And I want you to hear and see what one sounds like you. Okay. So, number one, I often rely on others' approval to feel good about myself. I worry about my loved ones when we are physically apart. I often worry that I'll unintentionally push people away. I usually want to be closer to my friends, family, and lover than they want to be to me. Okay, type 1, and type 1 is anxious. Okay, that's an anxious attachment style. Type 2, this is avoidant. I frequently feel suffocated in relationships, especially with intimate partners. I feel best about myself when I'm independent and autonomous. I've been labeled aloof or distant in more than a few different relationships. I often wonder why other people get so upset about trivial things. I tend to let things roll off my back. Okay, again, that's avoidant. Type 3, secure. I like being with loved ones and also spending quiet time alone. I don't worry much about my loved ones when we're apart. I feel things deeply, but I rarely lose my cool. Most of the time, I am aware of what I am feeling inside. I have rarely felt smothered or suffocated in my love relationships. Okay. Again, there's no good or bad here. There's no right or wrong. These just are. Okay. Understanding will help you pinpoint areas where you can learn and grow, areas where you can expand in your communication skills and your connection skills. Okay. And they can be flexible. Know that these are not set in stone. Okay. Just like thought patterns, they come with us from childhood and we don't even know that they're there, right? We're unaware of it. But once you become aware, they are flexible. You can grow, you can move, okay? You can step out of these into a more secure attachment style. Now, how does this show up around situations of infidelity? I want to talk to you about that now, okay? So if you are in an anxious attachment style, if that's what you have, you can imagine, okay, let's say, I know if you're listening, you've experienced some kind of betrayal. And let's say that you are experiencing betrayal and you know that there is something amiss. You know that There are maybe holes in the story that you're being told, perhaps, but you cling to the relationship. You're anxious about being abandoned. You're anxious about being separated. It's easy to become overcome with emotion, overwhelmed with emotion, and you often have trouble separating out thoughts and feelings. It kind of all feels like one big blob. Okay. People who have anxious attachment styles often are afraid to speak up for fear of creating distance or rejection. So even if you know that there are issues, you know that your spouse is doing things that you are not okay with, you're often hesitant to speak up for fear of rejection, of overwhelming the other person, and often can't even identify what it is that you're feeling. It just kind of feels like a big blur, a big blob of emotion. Okay. So for this person, if this is you, how can you help yourself with this? Okay. First of all, understanding your attachment style, just knowing what it is. Start identifying what are your thoughts, what are your feelings, what are your needs, what are your wants. Okay. Separating them out. Now, you've heard me talk before about an exercise to separate out your thoughts and feelings. It's called a thought download. You just dump out your brain. And I often recommend coming up with some kind of situation. So let's say you put at the top of your paper your spouse's name, and then you dump out on paper all of your thoughts about this person. Or you could put at the top of the paper the thing that he has been involved in that has led you to find this podcast. And then you can dump out your brain on paper and write down all of your thoughts about it. Okay. Now, as you go through that, you can look and see what are thoughts and what are feelings. So, for example, if you're like, he's such a jerk, or I don't know how we'll ever be okay, I don't know how we can fix this, things like that, those are your thoughts. I must not be good enough, thoughts. Okay. If you're writing down, I am heartbroken, I am so sad, those are feelings. Okay. Those are your feelings. So separate it out. I recommend getting a highlighter. Okay. You can highlight out what are your thoughts, what are your feelings. Slowing your brain down long enough to get it out of your head and onto paper can be so powerful. And you can see on paper where you are maybe blurring thoughts and feelings. Okay. As far as wants and needs, we often mute the things that we want, and we often confuse things that we need for things that we want. Now, how do you know if it's a need or a want? A need is something you need to survive and thrive. Okay. A want is something that would be nice to have. Okay. There's no moral superiority to either one, but it's good to know what are your needs, what are your wants, separating them out. Okay. Developing out emotional management strategies. Now, some of that can come from listening to past episodes. Like, I think, one of the top 5 episodes that I've done, like the top 5, meaning the most downloads, is called Feeling Your Feelings. Go back to that one, study it, practice feeling your feelings, practice sitting in feeling, develop other emotional 911 tools, things to help you when you're really in it, when you're really struggling. Work on building your communication skills, okay? A woman who has an anxious attachment style might feel really dependent on her relationship to feel good about herself. So if she's dealing with her spouse being unfaithful in some way, and she's still dealing with this anxious attachment style, she's going to have a hard time asserting herself and separating herself from him to really objectively look at everything and make decisions that are best for her. She's going to have like this primitive, needy, clingy, like, I can't let go of this, I'm so afraid, I don't want to lose him. And I promise you, it comes from that anxious attachment style that says that you're going to get left behind, you have to stay, you're going to get abandoned. Like, it's coming from a very fearful place. Okay. So learning to separate those things out, like, what are my scared emotions here and what am I afraid of? And then deciding, do I want to let those dictate how I show up here? Or are there other skills that I can develop so that I can make really clear decisions for myself? Next up is the avoidant attachment style. Okay. So, characteristics of avoidant attachment is uncomfortable being too emotionally close to others. They feel content interacting on a surface level. They're often very unaware of thoughts and feelings, just like the anxious attachment. And often they detach even more from their emotions during conflict or stress. So, have you ever talked to somebody who, like, you're like in a conversation, maybe a conflict, and they are like stone faced, like no, almost like no emotion, like nothing. And you're like, come on, like, do you not feel anything? Are you just a robot? And they are just like almost robotic, right? They likely have an avoidant attachment style. This person has discomfort in discussing emotions for fear of getting too close. They believe that it's better to just let things go. So they might seem like really calm and cool and like nothing ever gets to them. And in reality, they are scared to death of getting hurt. They're scared to death of letting down their wall, getting close to somebody only to get slammed. Okay. They're very guarded when it comes to speaking up, being assertive. They're guarded. And some of the things that this person might want to work on is, again, understanding your attachment style and spending time truly thinking about the value of closeness in relationships. So, for those of you listening where you feel avoidant attachment style in you, you might just retreat. That might be your go-to, to pull back, to not share, to close down, to almost numb out as if it doesn't bother you, right? For you, it can be really, really helpful to spend time actually going, why does this relationship matter? What is valuable about me stepping in here and really getting into it and being uncomfortable with this person? What would be helpful here to show that I do actually care about this relationship and this person? Because it's easy for the person on the other side to think they don't care. They just don't care. They don't care enough to even feel anything. They're just like talking to a brick wall, like nothing there. There's nothing there. So, and again, developing communication skills to learn how to speak without a flood of emotions, like where you can't think anymore because you're so overcome with emotions, and learning how to stop minimizing or denying their own need for close relationships and allow the discomfort of being close to somebody. Okay. Instead of being afraid of letting their emotions get the best of them, they are okay showing some emotion. They learn how to let down their guard. They might be worried that others will think of them as out of control if they show emotion. And they practice thinking more about what they think and caring more about what they think than about what other people think. Okay. In this situation with the avoidant attachment style, if one of you or both of you in a marriage are avoidant, you might just never talk about anything and like ignore things altogether, skirt around it, pretend like you're fine. But at the root of it, we all are emotional beings, all of us. We all have feelings. We all get hurt. We all have emotions. And so one of you has to be willing to be seen. One of you has to be willing to share and to feel the vulnerability of like showing emotion and expressing emotion. And who better to do that than you, my friend? Okay. Who better than you? All right. The next one is secure attachment. Some characteristics of secure attachment are forming relationships and feeling comfortable alone. They can do both. Able to manage emotions, can separate out thoughts and feelings, can handle themselves pretty well in a conflict, speak up for what they want, have a pretty good emotional vocabulary, pretty good at identifying what their feelings are. Okay. Sometimes they have difficulty identifying emotions or lack confidence to be assertive, but they do have kind of a core belief that they're worthy of being in the relationship They understand that relationships are important. They understand that there are times to be close and there are times to be alone. So there's always room for growth here too, okay? Some goals here to work on, even if you find yourself in this secure attachment style, is continuing to identify what your feelings, thoughts, needs, and wants are, practicing emotional management skills, developing and solidifying communication skills, and knowing that individuals with secure attachment style can be really close to people in relationships, but also can be alone, okay? They experience a full range of emotions and often have a pretty high tolerance to intense emotions, not only of themselves, but of other people. So in areas to grow, in all of those areas, there's always room for growth, right? So even if you find yourself with a pretty good tolerance for other people's emotions, what areas do you shy away from? Are there specific emotions you don't feel comfortable with? Are there things that you shy away from in conversations because you don't want to feel it? Those are your areas for growth, okay? Learning how to not be overwhelmed by emotions, learning how to speak up and communicate needs and feelings. So I want to talk about the connection between emotions and feelings and emotions and being assertive, okay? The more we can form secure attachment styles, the more safe we feel to be assertive, okay? And if we have one of the other ones, avoidant or anxious, we often feel like we need to hide. And that does not serve us well at all when we are working through infidelity. Doesn't serve us at all. If we feel like we can't speak, if we feel like we're muted, if we feel like we're going to get rejected if we speak up. And you know what? We can't control at all what other people do. And they might leave, right? They might not like what you have to say. But it's crucial because what it's actually saying is I matter. My opinion matters. My experience matters. My life matters. How I am treated matters. Okay? So often what happens is women will ignore clues that there are things that they need to talk about. There are things that need to be brought to the surface and worked through. Okay? And know that if you are avoiding emotions, it can have a great toll on you, not just on your relationships, but your relationship with yourself, your overall health and well-being, okay? So again, from Julie Hanks's book, she talks about ways to know if you are keeping emotions inside, okay? I'm gonna read these to you. They get trapped inside and fester. So you feel them kind of building and building. My blood pressure rises. I get stressed out. I get headaches. I overeat. I withdraw and get depressed. I start worrying. I get irritable. I feel on the verge of tears all the time. I take it out on my kids. After a while, I blow up at somebody who doesn't deserve it. Do any of those sound like you? I know I've done all of those things at different times, okay? So in practicing this work of noticing your attachment style and practicing feeling your feelings, saying the things that feel uncomfortable, use those cues that I just read to you to know as a signal, what am I avoiding? What am I hiding from? What am I feeling anxious about? And look for it and find it. Okay, bring it out into the open. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about my experience with this. Okay, so I've been studying attachment theory as a way to help my clients to go deeper in their healing, but also because I've recognized in myself some things that have been difficult and some things that have been really painful, and where in general, I am a pretty, confident person. I feel like I'm pretty level-headed most of the time, but every once in a while, I'll get really afraid of something and I will worry or I will retreat. And in my intimate relation with my husband relationship. And I've noticed that. And I've mentioned I'm expecting, and for whatever reason, this change in circumstance for me has brought up some things that I had thought that I dealt with and that I have dealt with, but I'm working through them at a deeper level. And so it's been really helpful for me to drop the judgment and go, oh, makes perfect sense that I might be that way. I've had discussions with my mother to understand a little bit more about why I might have formed some of the attachment styles that I have. One of the things that she told me is that my second dad, so my first dad died when I was 2 days old, and then she got remarried when I was 2. He liked me. He thought I was cute, and he would like snuggle up to me and play with me and things like that. Well, they got divorced when I was 5. I've never seen him since. Not once. I've not seen him at all. And so I can see how I would have formed some anxious attachment and worrying if somebody's going to leave, right? And so I want you to just take these things and understand that, just like I'm doing the same thing of going, it makes perfect sense. Like, of course I'm that way. And it's just like holding a mirror up to myself to show me how I need to grow, where I need to grow, where I need to develop. And I will always keep growing. I may be the one sitting behind the microphone teaching you these things. And I have worked through a lot. I have come a long way, but I'm always going to keep growing. And guess what's awesome? As I keep growing, I'm going to bring it right back to you to help you. Okay. That's my commitment to you. So for me, I see all 3 attachment styles with friends, with many, many relationships. I feel very secure, but in my intimate relationship with my husband, I see where there is a lot of security, but there's also times where I feel avoidant and anxious. It's not very often, but it does come up. And so it's given me an opportunity to go deeper, to explore, to see if there's areas that I'm not speaking up for fear of rejection or things like that, and to practice speaking up, right? Practice being more assertive. It's been good for me. It's pushing me. So, my friends, that's what I have for you today. I want you to just take this information, learn about yourself. You can go look up these attachment styles online. They're there to help you understand how you might be responding to your spouse's choices. If you have an avoidant attachment style, you might be just closed off, like shutting it down, like, nope. And people that have avoidant attachment styles, like if they end up like getting divorced, they're like, I will never date again. Like, why on earth would I do that again? Anxious attachment style, they might be feeling really unhappy, but really scared to speak up and to really communicate how hurt they are or what they actually want, or asking for things, making requests because they're afraid that they're going to be rejected. Where with a secure attachment style, yeah, it's still hard, right? It's still, there's no way around that. But here's the difference is, and I've worked with all 3. I've worked with all 3 different kinds of clients with all 3 different kinds of attachment styles. And the ones with the secure attachment style don't take on as much of the meaning of like, I must not be good enough, I must just be this and that. They don't carry that as deeply as some of my clients who come to me with like anxious attachment style, for example. And again, please know that there's no judgment here, because I'm right there with you with my own stuff that I carried into my first marriage and that I didn't know how to deal with. And so it's just for information to help you to learn. Okay. So I sure appreciate all of you listening. I want to say also that I had set the goal to get 100 downloads by the anniversary of my podcast launching, which is August 12th of last year. We're now up to 96. So 6 of you have hopped on and rated or reviewed. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It means the world to know that you're listening, to know that it matters to you that I am here and record this podcast for you every week. And I thank you. And I ask that you, if you haven't yet, go give it a review. Let other people know how it has helped you. Imagine for a moment somebody who wakes up at 2 a.m. and can't sleep because she's so distressed over the things that she has found out. And she's like, I just need help. I just need help. And she doesn't know where to go. And so she puts into the search infidelity, into the podcast search infidelity. There pops up Heal from Infidelity by Andrea Giles. Okay. She's like, I wonder if this is legit. I wonder if this is actually helpful. She goes and reads through the reviews. She reads what they say, how they have helped people. And guess what she does? She starts listening, and it starts helping her. I want to help more women. So many women and men too. I know that there are male listeners are hurting terribly and feel very alone, feel like there's no help, feel like no one actually understands them. I want them to know that they matter, that they are heard, that they are loved, that there's help for them. Will you help me help them? Please write a review for these people who are suffering and need to know that there's help for them. Thank you so much. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast. If you would like to be kept in the know about upcoming free classes, new podcast episodes, and other ways of working with me, go subscribe to my weekly email. You can subscribe at andreagiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. Again, it's andreagiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. I will see you next time.